going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Lob It Up podcast. We are your hosts, Tobias, Chris, and Siavash. Chris, how are you doing this week, my friend?
Not doing too bad, sir. You know, it's been a good week. Weather's been fairly decent, so been able to get outside and whatnot. Just kind of enjoy that weather. Haven't been able to watch as much basketball as I'd like to this week, just because I've had a lot of stuff going on. But other than that, man, it's been good.
That's good.
Yeah, man.
Siavash, what about yourself, man? How you doing this week? Have you watched any basketball this week?
Brother. I watched the Spurs and the Pelicans game because you asked us to.
Yeah.
And I was hoping we would talk about it, but I guess we won't, and I hate you for that because I had to watch terrible basketball. But, you know, there was some good things about it.
Well, I guess
I found out how good Jacob Polto or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Jakob, I forgot that's how you pronounce
Jakob.
it. Jakob, that's your boy, right?
Used to be my boy.
Until you got Kawhi for him.
Exactly. Big trade piece.
I mean, I could touch lightly on it. It was just basically about Dejounte Murray. I kind of want to put a spotlight on Dejounte Murray. I think, you know, he's steadily over the past couple of years become, you know, one of the best two-way guards that we have in the league, quietly. You know, a couple of weeks ago we were talking about most underrated players, and I was thinking back, for years we always heard Damian Lillard is, you know, one of the most underrated players in the league, until people then recognized he wasn't underrated. They valued him properly. Then there was Bradley Beal. The same sort of thing happened with Bradley Beal the past couple of years, you know, accurately rated. Then, you know, even still De'Aaron Fox, people say he's one of the most underrated players in the league. And now I think, you know, that credit should be given to Dejounte Murray. This guy's putting up this season 18 points, 8 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals, like quietly in San Antonio. I get it, probably because the market doesn't get as much attention, but that was my point about watching the Spurs. I just wanted, you know, to put the spotlight on Dejounte Murray.
You know, I do appreciate you asking us to watch it because I hadn't watched any Spurs this season, and I realized Lonnie Walker is a special piece as well. But to go back to Dejounte Murray, I just think he just needs to get better at the three-pointer, man.
Definitely,
like,
that's the one point.
There was a few plays. There was a few plays they were just going under the screen, leaving him like he was looking like Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
For me, I just, you know, I do agree those are great numbers. But another point I do want to make is that they're probably like the 11th seed right now. So
yeah.
You know, I just want to see him lead the team a little bit more, and then we can talk about him being one of the best guards in the West, probably.
That's definitely the point too with him. Like, his 3-point needs work, and it's funny because that's his team now. Dejounte Murray is the face of the Spurs, and rightfully so. He's leading the team in points, but again, consistency needs to be a thing for him. But I think he's only he's a 96 baby, so he's only 25. So, you know, he's got a lot of room to grow. So yeah, got a lot of room to grow,
brother.
Moving on, do you want to get into your Sacramento talk right now, or do you want to save that, you know, for the take of the week at the end of the episode?
Let's save it.
Okay, we'll save it. So we'll stay in the West though, and we can talk about another guard. This is obviously a terrible segue because these two players are nowhere near comparable when we talk about, you know, all-time ranking or just even this year right now. But as we're recording it, it's Tuesday. The Golden State Warriors are about to play, you know, the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. What a better story for Steph Curry going in, you know, about to break Ray Allen's all-time 3 record. But I want to get we did talk about this last week, just briefly. I do want to get your thoughts, and it's just kind of off the top of your head. Once Steph surpasses Ray Allen, he becomes, you know, the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. Potentially he could win MVP again this year, right? Golden State is battling for that first seed, not only in the league, but not only in the Western Conference, but also in the league. Golden State could potentially win a championship this year. They've got Klay Thompson out right now. You know, they've got James Wiseman on the bench. They've got Jonathan Kuminga on the bench. All valuable pieces. Moses Moody, or as Kendrick Perkins like to say, Moosey Modus Moody. But my point to all this is, if Steph wins, and we're talking on ifs in part of this, Steph surpasses Ray Allen. If Steph wins another MVP and potentially even wins a championship this year, where do we look at him in your top 10 ranking? not only among shooters, but as a top 10 player all time in the NBA. Because I've been seeing on some other sports radio shows like Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp, they've been talking about, obviously two different shows, but they've been talking about the comparison between Steph and LeBron and most impactful per decade. We look at Michael, most impactful player in the 90s, right? In the 80s was Magic and Larry, 2000s was Kobe. The conversation of the 2010s is it Steph or is it LeBron? And there's a great argument to be made for Steph Curry. So, where do you guys have Steph Curry loosely in your top 10 or your all-time ranking?
Bruce?
I think for me, Steph Curry is definitely in the top 10. Yeah, I think he's in the top. He's probably in the higher ends though. Still, just because there are so many other players that would come before him. Just all around like better players. Like yes, Steph Curry, after probably breaking this record like tonight, will go down as like the greatest shooter to like basically ever touch the hardwood. Pause that. But yeah. But yeah, like he's definitely gonna be in a top 10. I'm gonna say probably anywhere between probably 8 and 10, like for me personally.
Okay. I know it's off the top of your head, so it is difficult. I mean, I think he's at least should be listed in the top 15. It's how much do you value him and his impact to the game? How much do you value those other players? Because like you mentioned, there might be more well-rounded players, but Steph excelled in one like huge aspect of the game and changed the game, honestly, with him being in the league. Steve Ash, what are your thoughts?
Take a moment just to think back to everything that he said about his impact. I think Steph has been one of the most impactful players. I saw an interview with Ray Allen trying to justify that he's still the greatest shooter. Because in his era, 3-point shooting wasn't as like open to look at. Like they just didn't shoot as many threes, and how Steph just had the green light throughout his career. And I saw a great response, which goes back to your point with the impact he made. Steph paved the way for himself.
Totally.
Steph opened up the idea of just shooting threes and just shooting as many threes as possible. And now he's taking about, I think he's averaging around 15 threes a game, shot attempts. It's just incredible, man. When back in the day, they wouldn't even take 8. One of the best shooters, their averages are probably around 8 to 10 3-pointers in their best seasons, right?
Well, what was the stat that you had mentioned about Reggie Miller? Like, what was he taking? 3-4 threes a game?
Something like that, man. And he was a bucket. Like, going back to Steve Nash, I've heard Steve Nash talk about this in multiple interviews where he says, I wish I was taking as many threes as Steph. I wish I just kept going for 10 to 12 threes a game. Because he was a great shooter, but the era and the time just wasn't about that at the time. They just didn't understand the spacing and the value that the three brings to the game. So with that said, off his impact, I think Steph is deserving of a top 10 spot for sure.
Yeah.
I have a hard time ranking players right now because I have a hard time thinking of players that are better than Steph right now. I'm very biased at this time because I look at the impact it brings on the offense just off the ball, not even just handling the ball. So they definitely deserving of top 10 for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just like I think there's probably a collection of 7 if us 3 sat down and did our top 10 ranking all time in the NBA. I think there's probably a collection of 7 or 8 that are recycled. Like I'm sure that we all have the same 7 or 8, maybe not in the same position, but I would give way for 2 or even 3 players, maybe just outside on one person's list that made it on the inside. But again, right off the top of my head, guaranteed top 15, but I think he can definitely, be one of those top 10 greatest players of all time.
Yeah, because you think about LeBron, Scottie, Kareem, nobody's going to react to Scottie.
I was waiting for you to say Mike. That's where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to go through the whole list without saying Mike.
No.
I said Scottie second because he's better than Mike.
Well,
come on, guys.
He might think that. I know he's trying to sell some books, but he's not that good. This guy's going around. What's worse, having a sore back or having the flu? It's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, I don't know. Don't even get me.
He said that.
Yeah, he's trying, and I get it. Smart. He's trying to sell books, but like, the whole narrative around his kind of like I guess we're going off on a different tangent here, but the whole narrative around Scottie in the past like year, 2 years since the documentary has come out is about how he doesn't really like Michael, and then they didn't get along as much as everyone thought they did, and you know he wanted more credit. Scottie wanted more credit. Okay, yeah, for sure. Like I don't think Scottie got his flowers as not enough as he should have, but this whole campaign that you're putting on about selling your books, you're attaching it to Michael Jordan. So as much as you have a gripe against him because you didn't get enough flowers as him, you wanted more attention, you're still hitching your wagon onto the cart of Michael Jordan to sell your books. Like you're making it about Michael. Anyways, I digress.
Did he mention Future in his book?
Yeah, he should. He should.
Oh my god!
Just getting absolutely
Gucci
savage on the
flip-flops?
podcast today. So we talked about Steph, and I was telling you guys at before we started recording, we touch on our teams here and there, but we never really kind of do an analysis or even just an update with our teams. And I think each of us have different teams that are in different kind of areas this season. One team is up at the top half of the league, one's sort of middle of the pack, and then one's different style right now. You guys are rebuilding, but the Toronto Raptors are just outside the play-in tournament. So I want to kind of touch on what you guys have seen this year from your team, what you like, what you dislike, what you're excited about. Just give me, we're a quarter, a third of the way through the season. I kind of want to just get an insight on how you feel about your team this season and moving forward. So Chris, you started last time. See if I'll let you take the floor.
So as everybody knows, I think that's not a surprise that my team, the Bulls, have been doing very good this season. Currently, they are sitting at a second seed with a 17-10 record. They've gone 5-5 the last 10 games. But our biggest enemy, our biggest competitor, has been the COVID protocol, God. The safe, and they had to postpone the next two games against the Pistons and the Raptors, which
would have been
we were talking about putting money on it, and I was like,
that's true.
We should have.
Thankfully, because bro, we didn't have 8 players. You need 8 players to play the game. We didn't even have
that's
8.
Bad.
But what was it a couple of years ago? Like when COVID first started, I thought it was Philly or it was Milwaukee where they were like playing without players and they were like pretty down bad. Like they still had to like put out 8 guys or 7 guys out there.
I think it was Lakers a few years ago, like not even a few, but
I would have remembered
where they fouled out.
I would have heard all about it if it was the Lakers. Trust me.
I think it was like 2014 or something where Robert.
I'm talking something COVID era.
Oh, COVID?
Yeah.
I think it was the Wizards are probably the best example that were last year because they had to postpone a few games because of how many players they had in the COVID protocol. So with that said, our last 2 games we lost to the Cavs by 20-something, 23 I think, and we lost to the Heat by 26. I think we could have won those games easily. Like you look at the last time, You look at the last time we faced the Heat, we only lost by 3, and I think that was just a test for them. So I think we could have easily won those games. If we did, we would have been the first seed as of right now. But I think our COVID has been our biggest problem right now. Other than that, I'm happy with the direction this team's going. And hopefully COVID doesn't affect us in the long term. We had players last season, someone like Jaylen Brown, I think. He said that he still is recovering from COVID because of his breathing problems. And it didn't affect them the same way as it would like a lot of people. So
I guess that's the thing too that I never really thought about. Like in terms of a professional athlete, whether we're talking football, hockey, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, maybe less so baseball, but still it matters. I don't know if I've ever had COVID. I don't know if you guys have ever had COVID, but whatever. We wouldn't feel it in a day-to-day aspect, like the after effects. Like what Jaylen Brown is talking about is he noticed his lung capacity, isn't as to where it was prior to having COVID. We might not notice that, but if you're running up and down the court, like you're gonna notice it on a much larger scale. So yeah, it definitely has a long effect for them for sure.
Brother, I have a cold right now and I can notice it. So
listen, like I'm looking at you right now, see, I'm just like, damn, bro, like I just want to offer you like a cup of honey lemon tea or just something, bro.
It's like, bro, I know we know you're a Bulls fan, but like you don't need to commit that hard. Like, you don't need to
I
get
know.
Listen,
COVID
bro.
too, bro.
If the team goes, I go. If the
See,
team
Andrew
goes, I go.
COVID protocol with his team.
Nah, I told y'all last night, man. This is a common cold, and I'm like, bro, if COVID is anywhere near this, give me all the fucking booster shots. Like, give me 20 of them, bro. I don't care.
I just never want to be sick again.
Yeah, that's always how it
that
is
shit
too.
sucks.
That's always how
Gross.
it is. When you're injured or you're sick, you're like, I swear I'll appreciate my pinky more. I just don't want it to hurt anymore. Like, I'll appreciate it. Like, but yeah, it's always you forget about it when you don't need it, and then when you need it, you're hurting for it. But we'll stay in the Eastern Conference. We'll go down the rankings a bit. Let's talk
The Raptors were actually in contention right now.
I just saw that
Playoff tournament spot.
I saw it. They won against the Kings last night, which I know we're going to be mentioning later. But the Raptors, tell us about the Raptors. They're 13-14 right now in the 10th seed.
Raptors have been doing fairly well. They're 5-5 for their last 10 games too, much like your Bulls there. Yeah, they beat the Knicks, beat the Kings. I feel like it's going to be a struggle ball against the Nets there. Because I don't know if OG is back yet.
I'm not sure.
I don't think so. Just because I know he usually puts the clamps on Durant and whatnot, but
Yeah, right.
it's gonna say, yeah, right, bro. You know OG's defense is sick.
Didn't KD just drop 51 on them
That's
2
true.
year ago when OG was there?
That's
That was
true.
2 years
man.
ago. What do you see of Ash the shovel? Why are you digging up the past, bro? That's
Shut the fuck up.
we're talking about
Shut
today.
the fuck up.
We're talking about today. We're not talking about 2 years ago.
Listen, man. The man just dropped 50 on the Pistons. He could drop it again.
That's true.
I know, but I think Raptors play well when they hit a groove and when all things are kind of clicking. The one thing that I frequently talk about with one of my friends that the Raptors love to almost sabotage themselves, and they love to play from behind. And it's like,
I think that's a
Why do you
Toronto
do
sports
that?
thing, because as a Leafs fan, I can tell you that happens way too often. So I think that's
And
just embedded in the culture.
It's ridiculous, and that is the one thing I think that they need to start coming out the gate with that intensity and keep that intensity all game long.
Yeah.
If they can, they can win games and they can beat good teams and whatnot, right? So, we beat the Jazz back in November, and we are beating good teams, but then we drop the ball again when it comes to this intensity, or it's okay, now we're down by 10, and it's yeah, we'll get within 2, we'll get within 3, even tie the game, and then all of a sudden we just slump off.
I feel like I haven't heard anything. I mean, I'm not really in Raptors Twitter, but I feel like I haven't really heard anything about Scottie Barnes in a couple weeks. Is he still performing to what he was at the start of the season? Has there been a bit of a plateau, or how's Scottie Barnes doing?
Scottie Barnes is still playing actually fairly well. He's still getting a lot of minutes. Last night, I think he played 32 minutes, and then he finished with 16, 2 assists, and 4 rebounds. So he is
5 blocks.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
5
shit.
blocks last night.
Dang.
yeah,
It was
Like,
big
so
on
he's-
Raptors Twitter last night.
Dang.
yeah. Scotty's defense too is fucking elite as well. And even my boy Yuta put up a nice
Oh,
double
yo, bro,
last night.
that guy is a zombie right now. He's still trying to, be alive after Anthony Edwards buried him in a coffin
no, he's
last
not.
season.
No, he is
Bro.
not. Did you not watch another game where somebody tried to
Bro.
throw down another poster on him, and Yuta said, "I'm not scared,"
Wow.
and Yuta contested, and Yuta
Because he's a
blocked that.
zombie. He's
Because
not even alive.
Yuta took that experience and he grew from it.
I
And he's
don't
like,
know.
you know what? I'm gonna just work on my.
The only thing he's growing is flowers out of the dirt that he's buried in. He is a
Buddy,
dead man
okay.
walking.
Bro, you know that
Relax.
clip? You know the clip of him blocking the guy? I know for a fact when Tobias sent it to Chris started watching it like this.
No, I didn't.
He's like, yo, I don't want to see it again.
Bro, I
Yeah.
have faith. I have faith in my guys. I have faith in my guys. Okay. And then it also too looked like last night Chris Boucher had had a good game too as well, because he's been struggling for a bit this season too, just trying to figure out his stuff and forcing stuff. But
Yeah.
looks like he didn't really have to force anything, and things just came to him naturally last night, which was great.
That was a narrative that I had heard early on in the season, especially in fantasy sports. Chris Boucher, no one was touching him. It just seemed like he wasn't putting out much. There was no value in him as a player on the court. But it's good to hear that he's starting to figure it out. And he was in the G League for a bit, right? So maybe just the new assignment kind of helped him out. But yeah.
Maybe, yeah, just to kind of like reground him and whatnot. Because, like I said, like at the start of the season, and with the addition of like some of the other centers and stuff coming on, like he was just. I get it. Like you're fighting for minutes. You want to make sure you're getting like your playing time. And you want to make sure you're putting up shots and whatnot. But then the second you start forcing those shots, and I think as like hoopers ourselves, like we've all been there. We're in a little bit of slump, so we're trying to shoot out of it.
Totally.
And then we keep missing and stuff, and all it does is just make us look worse. And then
sure.
we get down bad on ourselves, and it's terrible. But
as the legend himself, Dion Waiters once said, "I would rather go 3 of 27 than 3 of 9, because at 3 of 9 I stopped believing in myself." So
wow,
man, you gotta shoot every shot you get, man. The legend, the legend Dion Waiters himself, Heat legend.
Yeah, wow, that's quite a quote to pull out. I don't know if everyone would agree if he's shooting up and there's open options, but if he's bricking up 27 shots, that's pretty tough. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to wrap it up. I think like the Raptors too, with like their next few games, they could if they get some dubs, push their way up on the schedule, and just if the Celtics still playing like the way the Celtics are, they could both just keep going.
Okay, quickly, Chris, I have a trade offer for you.
Yeah.
Chris Boucher for Kobe White. Who says no?
I think
that's an interesting offer. Because it's a position that both teams kind of need. Not need for the Raptors, but like they could value by having a guy like Kobe White. I think Boucher is a need more to the Bulls than White is to the Raptors, but I think that's a pretty interesting trade for sure.
I'll see you guys on December 15th.
Yeah. Moving over to the Western Conference, resident Clippers fan here. They're sitting at a 5 seed, which is around where I project them to be. I know we're only a third way through the season. I project them to be at the 6th spot. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Their last 10, 6-4. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed from the Clippers, which I love, which makes me happy to be a Clippers fan, to be honest with you, it's a next man up mentality. And you hear that a lot in sports, but in the past couple of years, I don't think and again, I'm biased, I don't care, but I don't think any other team has exemplified next man up mentality more so than the Clippers. It's they have these injuries, these constant injuries. Steve Ash, we were talking before we started recording last night. Their 3 best players were sitting on the bench, right? They're injured. Batum, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard, and they were up by 20 against the Suns. Now I know the Suns are also, they didn't have DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. I would still argue that the Suns' 3 best players on the court last night were better than the Clippers' 3 best players. But, a guy like Luke Kennard, huge steps this season. He's played unreal. Reggie Jackson continuing what he was doing last season. Yeah. Marcus Morris can be here and there. Sometimes he puts up 20, sometimes he puts up 6. He's a little inconsistent. But when those players are going, when those role players are going, they can find success and just the mentality. But I think be all end all, the biggest factor for the Clippers, and it was the biggest factor for them last year, is the man behind the bench, and it's Ty Lue. Ty Lue continuously is one of the greatest coaches in the NBA today. His ability to switch plays on the fly. They were talking about Frank Vogel the other day. I think they were playing against Portland. It also might have been the game that they're playing against the Clippers, but how Frank Vogel basically was the Doc Rivers routine and kept the same scheme the whole way through it. The game didn't change anything. The defense is throwing different things at it. Frank Vogel said the same. We're stick and pack with what we're doing at the start. Whereas Ty Lue is a coach that likes to change things. He sees new defenses being thrown at him, so he tries to throw a different offense and vice versa on defense. So yeah, man, I'm just happy because, again, I don't think anybody, I can't remember where you guys had the Clippers, but I don't think anybody projected the Clippers to be as consistent. But they've done pretty well this year. Again, 6-4 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game win streak.
How's your man Eric Bledsoe doing?
I was gonna say, when you were talking about the man behind the Clippers, I'd say, is it Big Body Bledsoe?
You know what? He's similar to Morris. He's been, there's games where he'll put up 20 some points. Like, he's put up a couple points, and he's usually good facilitator, great defender. But there's games also where you don't recognize him, which again I think is fine, because you look at that next man up mentality, and the switch. I was watching the Through the Wire podcast the other day, and they were talking about the whole Indiana situation, and talking about a few different trade possibilities. Obviously, Miles Turner is available. They've said Domantas Sabonis is available, Karis LeVert, and they were talking about a Karis LeVert, doing the who says no, Karis LeVert swap for Eric Bledsoe, and I laughed. I was like, Indiana says no. There's no way that they're going to take on Eric Bledsoe and give up Karis LeVert. But
1000%.
I think there's been times where he's been needed and he hasn't shown up on the offensive side, but defensively he's always there, which is good.
Yeah, definitely they don't have him as a 5th seed.
Yeah.
Maybe that just drives from my hate for your Clippers.
Probably.
But,
Probably.
I feel like I had them at the 6th or 7th seed.
No, you definitely did not.
I feel
you
like
definitely did not. Steve Ash, can we pull up the receipts?
Pretty sure. Pull up the phone.
Because I had them at 6.
I'll check the seeds too.
I had them at 6.
No.
Make sure you check out our rankings on Lob It Up Pod on Instagram.
Well, see that.
I'm 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Chris has the Clippers. Where do you think you had them?
He said 6.
I said 6-7. I said 6-7.
You had them at 8, so you're outside of what you said.
Okay.
Well, is it 6 or is it 7? Because
I said 6-7, okay, because I couldn't remember off the dome.
Yeah,
but okay, if it's 7, right?
No, but I think I'm
sure
you
mess up 6 and 7 pretty often.
Okay, hey, give it.
It
happens.
Again, we're a third way through the season. Do I think the Clippers are going to stay at 5? Maybe. Depends on how those teams do directly underneath. Calling at the Lakers, the Mavs, even the Nuggets. I still think that they're probably a play-in team. I would like for them to stay at 6. That'd be awesome. You don't have to go through that, but I think that's where they probably end up. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so moving off of that. Do we want to get directly into the takes of the weeks, or do we want to talk a bit about this upcoming deadline, December 15th, which is tomorrow?
Oh, shit.
So when December 15th comes, contracts that were signed in the offseason become eligible for trades. Mm-hmm. This opens up a lot of possibilities that were not open up to now.
Just like 80% of the league, basically.
Yeah.
A lot of it, yeah, because a lot of small contracts get signed, 1-year deals, and they are probably the fillers for a lot of trades that we're looking into right now. Ben Simmons, there's a lot of heat going on with the talks for the Ben Simmons trade. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, the Pacers are looking to blow it up as they're sitting at a whopping 12-17 as a 13th seed, right behind my Knicks and the Hawks, right below the Raptors. Congrats for the Raptors right there. But
and Shams Charania also said that the Kings are still looking to move Buddy Hield and Bagley.
We're gonna get to that.
Yeah,
we're gonna get to that. Bro, don't get me started. But basically, what's gonna happen is all these teams are gonna be able to have more to work with. Now, we talked about the Pacers. I do want to propose this idea for you guys. Mm-hmm. Miles Turner. Is the Charlotte Hornets the perfect landing spot for him or not?
Boston Celtics.
They have Robert Williams,
yeah, I know, but
Robert.
I don't know. I think Miles Turner would be sick with them. Like I get it, they have Celtics? Robert Williams, but like this is also me being a traditionalist. I like Robert Williams is like 6'9". I hate centers that are 6'9" because you're undersized in my opinion. Miles Turner comes at 6'11", 7 foot, can shoot the 3 like.
So the reason I say also I think Bam is also 6'9".
He is. So you're right. Yeah, you're right. He is.
You're a defensive player of the year pick.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring up the Hornets is because they need a big man really badly.
So what's the swap?
And if you propose PJ Washington and maybe one of the young guys, James Bouknight.
So I'll tell you who I think is if Indiana's making a trade with Charlotte, I can almost guarantee you I know who the main piece is going back. Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward, Indiana
Yeah,
has wanted Gordon Hayward for years. He's from Indiana. He went to he played for the Bulldogs. Like, he's a Indiana guy. I think they would love to get Gordon Hayward. Now, it doesn't really fit with a rebuild because he's like 31, 32. It doesn't really fit with that, but I would assume that they would want Gordon Hayward back if they're making a swap with. And Kelly Oubre Jr. is playing very well. They don't need Gordon Hayward, who's coming off the bench right now.
I don't think the Hornets would do that. I think they would rather give up one of their power forwards, which right now PJ Washington would be the better choice because Miles Bridges is just going off. So, and maybe you get to leave. They get to get rid of what's the girl's name? I fucked this up.
Brittany Renner. Yeah.
What's it? Brittany Renner. Fuck, man. I forgot her name.
So it's a good thing. She's irrelevant.
I try not to think
have
about
any
it.
attention. Do you think so obviously they've mentioned Sabonis as a piece, Karis LeVert as a piece. I haven't heard any talks about Brogdon. I'm a big fan of Brogdon. But what about Chris's guy, TJ Warren? Do you think TJ Warren's going to be looking for a new home? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They trade him to Lakers for LeBron. It's a straight swap.
Yeah. How happy would he be?
I thought, honestly, guys, this was the Lob It Up podcast, not the Dig It Up podcast, bro.
Dig it up again?
Y'all still just fucking love to live in the past, all right?
No, because he's better than Jimmy Butler, right? I don't remember something like that.
I never said he's better than Jimmy Butler.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
Competitiveness in each other.
We're going to roll back the clip again.
Yeah. The clip.
We did this like almost a year ago. We're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Wow. Whatever, guys. Haters.
Going back to Brogdon, I think Brogdon's not eligible to get traded until next season because of the extension as well.
Okay.
So, and Brogdon is a good player. I do agree with that. I just also think there's not a lot of market for point guards right now.
Sure.
What are the team he's going to go to with that contract that is going to make the team better? That is not in rebuild mode.
Philadelphia.
That, you know what? I've thought about, I think we brought this up a few weeks ago when I proposed one of the Ben Simmons trades. Brogdon and maybe a Karis LeVert and some of the picks for Ben Simmons wouldn't be a bad start.
I think that'd be perfect because you're still getting a guard, which is what Ben is. You're getting a defensive guard, which is what Ben is. Brogdon's a better shooter. Does he have the ceiling that Ben Simmons does? Definitely not. But he's a steady guy that that you can count on, night in, night out. If you're able to get a Karis LeVert as well, you're getting another rangy shooter, a young guy. I think if they can make a trade to move Ben to Indiana and get Brogdon back, I think they do it. But I don't know if they want that because what's his name? Daryl Morey has come out and said he wants a top 25 player. So how many of the top 25 in the league are available for trade? Probably like 2 or 3, and it depends on who you value as top 25. Brogdon's not there.
Yeah.
Is Sabonis the top 25?
He's there. He's in that 20 to 25 spot for sure. I could hear him being on outside, but
it has to be a 3-team trade if it's going to involve Sabonis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because Sabonis and Embiid is not the best fit because both of them need to post up.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
that's just not going to work out in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, take of the week.
Let's get into the take of the week. Every single week we bring a new take, a new opinion, a new thought we have from watching the games this past week, looking ahead to the rest of the season or to the rest of the future of basketball. Doesn't have to be hot, doesn't have to be spicy, can be very chill. Who wants to start out? I know you're burning with passion. You came in, you said you're ready to talk about the Kings. So let's hear what is going on with the Kings. What did you see last night that's got you in a ruckus here, Sebash?
There's a number of things going on with the Kings that has put me in the mindset. This was this morning, man. I woke up, I saw a few things going on. I saw a few reports. As you mentioned, Shams said that they are looking to trade Marvin Bagley III and Buddy Hield to get a good player. And on top of that, there was De'Aaron Fox posted a note on his, I think, Instagram last night that basically said that we're not lazy. You can't be lazy to get to this point in the league. We're just not as sharp. Which I do agree with. I don't think, a lot of times we talk about players not putting in the work. I think if a player doesn't put in the work, they're not going to be good. But what he basically said is that they're not smart players on the court right now. So I'm going to make this as short as possible. You guys give me 5 minutes. I'm just going to propose my idea to you.
Okay.
Sacramento does not deserve a franchise.
I agree. I agree.
This team, what's their best moment in the past 30 years? was them going to conference finals against the Lakers.
Yeah.
And something they're holding on to is that game 6 when they were up by a lead. And apparently the refs just got the Lakers to win it, which the Kings fan are still holding on to with their Mike Bibby and Jason Williams jerseys holding it tight. But let's be honest, the past 10 years they have had 10 coaches. Since 2010, their best coach was David, I'm going to fuck up his name, David Jorger, I think. Yeah. That's how you pronounce his name. He was the Memphis Grizzlies coach up until 2016.
Okay.
Which, if you remember, in the 2012 and 2013, the Grizzlies were a solid team.
Yeah.
The Grit and Grind Grizzlies with Mike Conley,
Zach
Marcus
Randolph.
Gasol, and Zach Randolph. That was a great team. And he just transitioned in 2016 to Sacramento. And his last year with that team, they were, I think, a few wins away to make the playoffs. If there was a play-in tournament at the time, they would have made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But then they fire him because there's issues. They don't believe in him. Then they got Luke Walton. Man, Luke Walton is one of the worst coaches we've ever seen in this sport, man. I don't know why he keeps getting a job. I still don't know. You go to their players. Buddy Hield has been a great player. They got him in a trade from the DeMarcus Cousins trade. When they traded him, DeMarcus Cousins, to the New Orleans Pelicans. And they got the rookie Buddy Hield. The guy has been a bucket since. The guy has been one of the best three-point shooters in the league. Right now, he's behind Steph Curry for the most three-pointers made this season.
And he starred in a movie in 2003, a classic.
The Shrek. Come on.
Did he?
He was in Donkey. He was in Shrek. He played Donkey in
He says Donkey.
Yo, that's gotta be racist.
No, it's not.
How is that racist?
Chill.
Nah, bro.
He's got nice jibs, bro. They're not veneers.
Nice jibs.
Nice jibs.
It's true.
Don't call them jibs.
Nice.
Don't call them jibs.
Them chiclets.
Yeah.
And this guy is one of the best shooters in the league. You go on to the next player, Marvin Bagley III.
Mm-hmm. Duke
Look,
boy.
man, everybody knew at the time he's a great player, but at the time they knew they fucked up when they didn't take Luka.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew. Now, DeAndre Ayton went first. Everybody had a case for that because it's like, oh, he went to Arizona. There's a good story. He's a great big man. Luka, we're not sure, but the second pick, there was nobody else on the board other than Luka. So then you take him. You don't know how to play him. He's a power forward that cannot play the center or play small ball. You already messed up with that. Name me another power forward that you cannot play center or small ball. That is a great player. You can't. The next player, De'Aaron Fox. He's been there since 2017. He got drafted number 5 with the 5th pick.
Yeah.
You look at that guy. He's been there for 4 years. He still hasn't asked for a trade. And this team, you look at the roster, man. There's not like more than 7 players that you can be like, you have faith in them. Rashad Holmes is the best player right now on that team.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy.
It's just a messed up franchise. And the best part, they don't have any other sports franchises, the good sports franchises, Major League sports franchises on that city. The next best sports franchise in Sacramento is a minor league team.
Baseball, probably?
And you look at this. Yeah, minor league.
Yeah.
Baseball. And you look at the city like Seattle. They got a team in football. They got a team with hockey. They got a team in baseball.
I agree, yeah.
They have a history.
Mm-hmm.
They have a history with sports.
Yeah.
And they don't have a team, and you get Sacramento a team? Get them out of here, man. It's just, I don't even know why they're still doing this. Like, it's just, man, you had Vlada Divac as your GM, and he made mistakes that is apparent. And then you fire him, and it's still a mess over there. And Alvin Gentry is now the coach, which I am hopeful for because he's a great coach. Mm-hmm. But I think this is just a messed up franchise.
No, it's extremely valid. I mean, we were talking a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned Minnesota, Orlando, and Sacramento. I agree. Those teams, they have done nothing to deserve a franchise, but Sacramento 100%. You already have 85 teams in the state of California. Like, just first get them out of there. Like, you know, you're keeping them on the west. Just go up, you know, a bit north and give the team to Seattle. Like, 100%. Sacramento does not deserve a franchise. They haven't done anything. They haven't been competitive in the past, 15 years. The relevancy of them in the league, not even them in their own state, but them in the league, they're pointless. They're a pointless franchise. They have potential, but I even wonder what their games are like in terms of, you know, attendance. Like, how much, you know, like, fans do they get out per game? And this is coming from a Clippers fan. We've taken a big turn where it used to be a lot of Lakers fans in the arena. Like, Sacramento? Bro, what? Like, there's no way. There's people that probably go to California for a vacation, and they make their way to Sacramento for whatever you do in Sacramento, and they're probably like Phoenix fans or like Milwaukee fans, and they show up in their Milwaukee Bucks jersey and go watch a Sacramento versus Orlando game. Like Milwaukee's not even playing, but they have more fans from other teams coming to their home games. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Sacramento needs to take a hike, sell the team, and go to Seattle.
Yeah, because like what's been like their best like roster in like you're saying like the last like 30 years?
It would have been that 2002 or 2003 team with with
so
Bibby and Chris Webber and that was a sick squad.
And that's the last time. That's the last time they made the playoffs. They have the longest streak of not making the playoffs in the league.
Wow,
like, that's crazy. Yeah, because it just sounds like there's just a mess of problems just on all fronts, right? Because if you're coming up this year, like it'll be like 20 years basically since you've made.
Just about. That's pretty bad. That's pretty embarrassing, man.
Like again, like us as Toronto fans, both for the Leafs and the Raptors.
I was like, what's he saying? Us? I'm definitely not a Raptors fan. Go on.
We faced our fair share of disappointment with like Jays too. Oh God, why you gotta remind me of the Jays, bro?
Yeah, I mean the Leafs haven't won a playoff series in 17 years, so I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But they made the playoffs, right? Like,
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
At least they're making
in the regular season. You're still competitive. So that's like,
dude.
hey, this team is in it at all times. Like the Mavericks haven't won a playoff series since 2011.
Yeah.
But they're still like a relevant team, and they've had good rosters in the past 10 years.
Yeah,
that's my take of the week.
I love it. Yeah, I'm just looking. The last time they made the playoffs was 05-06 season. They were the 8th seed, and they lost in the first round against the Spurs. So yeah, like 15 years. Wow, that's crazy. That's really bad. Okay, Chris, moving on to yourself. Take of the week. What do you got for us this week, man?
I don't know if I've already talked about this because I feel like I've talked about it with other people, or maybe it's just been in my head and I've meant to like bring it up on the podcast or whatever. But I'm gonna say that give him like a couple of years, but I think Scottie Barnes is gonna become like the new face of the franchise for the Raptors.
I don't think that's
right now.
I think that's
this
okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Here we go. But no, just even looking at like the players that they hold on to, like even like I'd say like Scottie, OG, maybe OG or Siakam and Van Fleet, like those guys can become like a good like small three. I'm not gonna say a big three, but like a good small three between like those three players. Something kind of like who's that other small three we always talk about? Oh, with Minnesota, something like that. Obviously, not maybe that degree as like you've got Cat and whatnot, but yeah, it's gonna be another like good small three with those guys.
Yeah, I think in 5 years, I don't think that three that you're mentioning, the Fred, the Scottie, and the Pascal, I don't think they're all together. I think one of them is gone. Most likely, I think Pascal is gone. But
I think he's the oldest out of all of them, though.
He's like, I think he's a 94. I think he's 27. But the thing is, I don't, and again, I know it doesn't have to be a spicy take or anything, and it's definitely not. But taking a player at 4th overall, I would expect for him to be the face of my franchise. Like I'm putting that expectation on you. When they drafted, we just talked about the Kings. When they drafted Bagley with the 2nd overall pick, okay, this is the guy that went to Duke. We're taking him 2nd overall, like he's our guy. You know what I mean? So I think for sure, he should be the face of their franchise. Yeah. But we'll just see how the rest of the team kind of fares out around him.
I think the only reason I went here we go is because we're just talking too much about Scottie Barnes. Let him play an entire season, and then
true.
I guess I don't know. The guy's just been showing out, and that's all. And it's just I just love talking about the kid because there's like just so many people being like, "Oh, you Raptor fans are fucked because you didn't draft Suggs. Oh, Suggs. Well, stop sugging his dick."
No, come on.
And
all that talk stopped within 2 weeks of the season starting.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knew.
Not even within 2 weeks. I'll say it was going on for a good month.
But we're speaking about that, but like I was one of the people that said you should have drafted Jalen Suggs, but that has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with talent, though. Like I could admit Scottie Barnes is having a great season. It's also a third of the way through his first NBA season, but we look at the fit organizationally, and I thought Jalen Suggs was perfect. A perfect transition from Kyle Lowry to Jalen Suggs. You just hand the reins over. They want to go on a different...
We didn't need to do that. We already handed the reins over to Van Fleet.
But he's played the two for the past 3-4 years, so I just didn't think that they were going to transition.
Yeah, but it could be an easy transition though into the one.
Either way, Jalen Suggs was there, and I'm always risky. Again, it works out sometimes. Mm-hmm. I'm always risky to look at what's happened in this past 2 weeks versus the sample size I've had for this past year. That was my risk in Scottie Barns. Again, fine during the season, had a fine season, but it was this jump over the 2 weeks prior to the draft, through the combine, through the interviews. And again, if he interviews well, he interviews well. But I'm always very cautious when I have a sample size of a player throughout a whole season, and then I take the guy that's 2 weeks, had a high escalation the past 2 weeks. Again, it's worked out fine. We're still in this first season. I think Jalen Suggs is going to have a long, great career. And I think Scottie Barnes.
I feel like it's tough too for him though out now, like Orlando, because he's playing behind Cole Anthony or playing with them. So already have him like the two.
Playing with him, yeah, but I think the hardest thing for Jalen Suggs, and it's kind of funny because the Raptors are the same, but in a different sense internationally, or intercontinentally, I guess. Orlando's a very, very small market. To the Lakers, to the Chicago Bulls, to the New York Knicks, Toronto is a small market because they're irrelevant. They're not within America. Orlando among the league is irrelevant. We were just talking about Sacramento and Minnesota. Orlando's irrelevant. So I think right now in the position that Jalen Suggs is in, again, playing behind or playing with a multitude of guards. You got Markelle Fultz there. You got R.J. Hampton. You got Cole Anthony. He's already kind of behind the 8 ball a little with all those guards, but also being in Orlando, he's not going to get the recognition. The bonus thing that Scottie has is he's got a whole country that's going to get the recognition. But
I was going to say, Toronto might not be a big market, but it's its own market.
Yes, thank you.
There is a big following within itself. Magic, I don't know if I've ever met any Magic fans. No. Or ever spoken or interested in Magic fans. No. And I'm sure outside of Orlando, there might not be a lot of them, but once you look at Toronto, there's, as you said, a whole country. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. And one other thing I will say, I was behind some of the criticism about picking Scottie because it has to force now a transition with Pascal Siakam. Mm-hmm. This is a time,
that's true.
This is a clock now ticking between them. At one point, one of them's got to go. And right now, it's looking like Pascal for sure.
And there's this weird bulge pause when it comes to the rotation. It's
there's way better words to use than bulge. That's the first one.
There's Precious. There's Precious. There's Chris Booth.
You could have used another word.
There's a bulge.
Logjam. But you'll see what I mean.
That's even worse. Bulge? Also logjam, brother. What's going on?
There's Precious Achiuwa. There's Chris Boucher. There's Pascal Siakam. There's OG Anunoby. There's Scottie Barnes. Those are 5 guys that we've already mentioned. Kem Birch. We're at 6 guys where now you got this Delano Banton guy. There's a lot of the same position. I get it. They're trying to go into positionless basketball.
I think Delano typically plays the point though, and I think that's what they want.
Okay, I try not to watch him. He watching Delano Banton.
I know he bothers you the way he moves.
It's weird. He's I don't know. It's not graceful.
Weird episode.
I know. I understand. I get it. I understand. Because I watch him.
I'm why are you so
I know. I get it because it's so tall. So it's just the littlest movements just seem so exaggerated. Or if he's a little stiff, everything just seems stiff.
And I feel like he's a size 13 shoe, but he's wearing size 18. It's what, bro? Go down a couple shoe sizes. He's so clunky when he plays. But that to your point, Seabash, they have a weird transition. Whereas if they had a guy like Jalen Suggs, it would have just been a swap out with him and Lowry.
Okay. Take of the week.
My take of the week, I'm gonna go to my favorite team to talk about. That's not my own team. The rivalry that is between mine and Chris's other team. Anthony Davis. We touched on him a bit last week. I think, and this is not really saying much, but I think Anthony Davis, the best version that we have gotten and we will get of Anthony Davis. was when he was playing in New Orleans. He's still putting up fair numbers in LA, but watching him this year, again, the lack of him wanting to be physical and going to the paint, I don't think he's a number one on a championship winning team. I think he's an amazing two. I just don't think he can be that guy on a championship winning team. We were talking off the episode about Mike and Scottie, and for years everyone said Scottie was the greatest number two ever. He's the greatest Robin ever. I think Anthony Davis can take that mantle. He won one with LeBron, can still win one with LeBron. After LeBron leaves, I think he needs to find another Batman, because I just don't see him as being that guy. When it comes to crunch time, he's not that guy. You look at his stats, he's putting up fair stats, over 20 points a game, probably 10 rebounds or so a game, but the eye test, actually watching him play, I just do not see him being, the successful Batman to a championship winning team.
Because even if he's dropping those 20 points, like you said, that eye test, watching him, it looked like it was a struggle to get those 20 points,
And it's just going back to him playing on New Orleans, he was the guy, and they didn't really do anything. They made the playoffs once, I think. Did they ever win that series? Yeah,
twice, and they won one series against the Trailblazers, and then they lost to the 2018 Warriors with KD, and they lost in 5. Which brings me to my point, where Jrue Holiday has played with both AD and Giannis. Yeah. And to be fair, we should give the New Orleans Pelicans some credit, because they lost to a great team, the Warriors, with KD. But you can kind of see the potential that Jrue Holiday gives to the player next to him when you compare him when he played with AD and Giannis. Mm-hmm. And I think AD, his ceiling was not as high as Giannis's back then, and I don't think it is as high as Giannis's now.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing him winning 3 playoff rounds without a point guard who's an alpha.
Yeah, really good, and it's not Russell Westbrook, but really good player. Again, he's a guy, when we look at our top 10 power forwards of all time, he can make his way into that conversation. He can't do it by himself. He's not going to be a Giannis. He's not that guy. I don't see it, and it sucks, because he has all the makings to be that guy. I'd be interested to look at his injury history too, because I really think a lot of his gameplay comes down. He's a 6'11". He's a 6'10" listed on Basketball Reference, but 6'10", power forward, center switch, a guy that can shoot. He's a good playmaker. He can dribble, he can pass, but he is scared to go into the paint, and that's where his bread and butter is, being a 6'10" dominant big, and he can't go into the paint. He doesn't like playing the center, but teams want to play him at the center. I just don't see it working out.
This whole thing is just a ruse. And it's come after Christmas, the Lakers are psych, you're just kidding. And they're just going on a massive run.
That would prove that the NBA is a TV show, a reality TV show, and not a
1,000% it would.
Yeah, I don't know.
Conspiracy Twitter go nuts.
I don't see that. I don't personally see that happening. I mean, they have too many question marks again around, their consistency in shooting. Russell Westbrook just being Russell Westbrook. LeBron's injuries. He's had a lot of injuries in the past year and a half, 2 years. And then AD's just ability to do everything to the max instead of, doing the bare minimum.
Okay.
All right, so that was another episode of the Lob It Up podcast. We are your hosts, Chris, Sivash, and Tobias. I kind of switched up the rotation that time, absolutely by accident. Next week, I'm super excited for this. Sivash, you and I were talking about it, but to let the listeners know, we're going to be doing a Christmas-themed episode where we're going to break down each players and what they should be asking for Christmas. But until then, we'll see you next week. Peace.